My name is Eric Poehler. I'm the current director of the 5 Colleges program in blended learning and digital humanities. I hope that you can all hear me and see me, that you can see the slides, and just in case I'm repeating myself, use the chat function, please, to let us know of any other problems that you might have, and we can pause and try to fix them. But we're all kind of in this Zoom world now, so let's see how we go. I just mentioned the program 5CollBLDH. That's the acronym we often use because the name we have, 5 Colleges Blended Learning and Digital Humanities Program, is a long series of words to use. So we'll be using that acronym now and again, and hopefully you'll be acclimated to it very soon. This is a special occasion for us. It's my pleasure then to welcome you to the 7th annual 5 Colleges Digital Humanities Undergraduate Research Symposium. First, let me give you a few practical pieces of information. Our schedule, we're going to begin with the remarks you're hearing now. Following this, we're going to have a short section that we call Then and Now, Reflections on 5CollBLDH. There'll be a couple of notices that we've got from previous folks who've been a part of us, and then also a short conversation between myself and a previous director, Andrea Russworm. After that, we will have a project showcase where we actually have, I'm sorry, I missed one step here. We're going to have a panel of our previous post-baccalaureate fellows who have given quite a bit of time and effort and who have been really important champions to this project over the last decade. Then we'll get to the true heart of our program. It's our undergraduate fellows and the presentations they're going to have on their research. And then finally, we'll have closing remarks and an open Q&A. I should mention that each of our session papers will go about 15 minutes. And then we'll have time for each person to respond to questions. So in that moment, when you're watching a presentation and you're getting a question, jot it down in your mind, and then when you're ready, send it into the chat box, and we will pose them as we can to the fellows after their talks. Okay, so let me begin with a little bit more information. Tonight's not only a celebration of the latest cohort of undergraduate fellows, it's also a celebration of the last cohort of undergraduate fellows, because the BLDH program is finally and successfully winding down after an entire decade of its existence and operation. And so this is really a wider and larger celebration that we're glad to have everyone be a part of, and I'm particularly proud of the students this year and in every year who've really made this program such a delight to work with. So let me start then by actually saying a little bit about the 5CollBLDH program, who we are. Let's see. There we go. Sorry about that. Learning curve. For the 5CollBLDH program, our large goal here is that we're charged with cultivating interest in digital humanities and blended learning throughout the 5 colleges and more recently beyond. We provide support and training for faculty and staff, both in research and in classroom instruction, as well as developing a broader awareness of the practice and potential of digital technologies to enrich new and existing forms of scholarship and teaching. Most recently, I've been interested in making the connection between research and teaching a bit more explicit, and showing how devoting labor in one area can become interesting and have a profound impact on the other side of it. So how you do research can influence the way that you teach, and teaching with digital objects can influence the way that you research. In this way, the relationship between blended learning and digital humanities is recast as more of a pipeline, and in that concept that I like to call the digital janiform, because of the way that digital objects can face towards research or teaching equally and without contradiction. The program in digital humanities first focused on a range of research topics by faculty. We were given a substantial and generous fund from the Andrew Mellon Foundation in 2010. And this supported a range of research topics from flying drones to documenting historic dress. Again, as I said, all supported by the five colleges who administered a large grant from the Mellon Foundation. I was personally an early recipient of a project grant, and I can tell you that as a newly hired assistant professor, the funding, the collaborations, and the mentorship that I received was instrumental in pushing my career forward. Beyond the projects that we funded, we also had a lecture series. Also, I found these to be really interesting and useful because the range and the caliber of visitors that came to the 5CollDH program to speak was really quite excellent. These talks showed not only the breadth and the depth of digital humanities scholarship, but also demonstrated its reach into areas that are often ignored or beyond the scope of traditional humanities interest. You might be interested in these, and you'll note that in many cases, I have a link at the bottom of the screen. You hopefully can get a chance to see them fast enough if you need to, but these videos are all available online through our website as well. So hopefully you'll be able to go and check those out as well. Another thing to really talk about for a moment and to linger on is a project that was spearheaded by the previous director of the Digital Humanities Initiative, Marissa. Excuse me, Marissa Parham, called New Rigor. And this was designed to take on the kind of the realpolitik of the academy and the digital humanities work, particularly around how DH is assessed and valued. I just want to mention something from the report, which the link again here is at the bottom. The final report states, quote, whether we call it digital humanities, humanities computing, digital scholarship, teaching with technology, blended learning, or otherwise pull from the pool of myriad terms that we use to talk about inquiries produced at the intersection of humanities, computing, or new medias, educational institutions must learn to address the new workflows, the timelines, and personnel management that such hybrid scholarship demands. The increased normalization of projects that fall under the general rubric of digital humanities has produced new opportunities for institutions to crystallize their articulations of the relationship between academic scholarship, creative making, and structures of evaluation and assessment. And this may sound in certain ways to be a bit bland or maybe even esoteric, depending on where you're coming from with this. But I can speak from a kind of particular point of view and a specific point of view that, you know, I know that grappling with this topic is really quite important. In fact, I think it couldn't be overstated. My own experience, again, kind of influences me and clarifies my thinking on this. And I can share an anecdote to kind of bring the point home about how much it matters to have the places where digital humanities work is done understood and valued by those institutions. In the span of 18 months, I went from having all the digital humanities work that I did not considered in my tenure dossier to then winning a major disciplinary award for that same digital humanities work. You can see that there's a real disconnect there. There's a cognitive dissonance when you can be told one thing with one hand and another by the other, and it can be quite confusing and for many people quite detrimental. Now, where the kind of the digital meets the classroom is also where we meet our students in the digital. And in 2013, the 5 colleges received another grant from the Mellon Foundation, as well as generous support from the Teagle Foundation to explore blended and hybrid learning techniques. These are two different terms, one often meaning blended learning, often meaning more about bringing in technologies and techniques into the classroom and blending them with an in-person classroom experience. And the latter often meant more along the lines of teaching at distance, something that we're becoming more and more familiar with. And in fact, we're all kind of hybrid teachers now, we're all kind of hybrid learners, and some of us are also doing digital blended learning within that hybrid work now as well. That program was also exceedingly successful. Over the course of 4 academic years between 2014 and ending in 2018, the 5 College program in blended learning supported 31 full course grants and 4 technology workshops and 12 micro grants. Sorry, I just see that there's some things happening here. Each semester, our grantees presented their work to the community in a showcase of excellence in blended learning across the 5 campuses. These projects were spread widely across the 5 campuses, including several collaborations not only on each campus, but between the campuses as well. Today, this research and all this work to put these blended classes together has been preserved on an online repository called the resources page. I should thank at this point former 5CollBLDH postbac fellow Alex Brennan, who you're going to hear from shortly, who did so much of the work to put this together. Now, we can say that the work is still ongoing, that the site is still in development, but the resources will be available here for now and in the future. So for those who might be interested to find syllabi, course materials, and the notes of putting together this kind of a class, this is the place that you'll come. We also hope that the digital humanities projects will also soon find their way onto this website as well. At the end of the time of doing our work with the digital humanities and and the blended learning project, we began to do a series of surveys of our faculty and of our students. And although the ones with the faculty were somewhat unsurprising in that faculty found the work rewarding to blend their courses, they found it challenging, and they felt that with the amount of work it takes to do it, if there was not the support from the 5 colleges and from Mellon to accomplish this, and from Tegel to accomplish this, they would not have probably chosen to do it. They have, in large measure, continued to use those blended classes, so that moving forward has been a net positive. More surprising, though, was a survey conducted of first-year students as they entered the university about what they knew, and it does dramatically show how much we misunderstand the incoming first-year students as we think of them somehow as a digital native. As these kind of rough charts show, that these first-year students, they understand Microsoft products, they understand Google products very, very well. They use them consistently. But what they don't know is many of the academic tools, how to use the library system, how to use digital platforms. These are things that folks just don't quite, these are things that the incoming students don't know, and that the institution may think they do. And like the mismatch between faculty and assessment and digital humanities work, in blended learning, this is one of the challenges that we as people who work at higher education institutions need to focus on so that we can alleviate that mismatch in experience. Now, really, in the end, 5CollBLDH over the last 10 years has been about people. And this symposium is always a time to reflect on that. Over the last, after the last decade, there's been a huge number of people who've put in their time, they've committed their energy and their imagination to the intersection of technology and academics. And over the last decade, we've had an opportunity to collaborate with a number of people at a number of different ranges. So we've had a handful of directors. We've had nearly about a dozen or so post-baccalaureate scholars and post-doctoral scholars who've joined us. We've had steering committee members and in the kind of scores of them, and the opportunity for project leaders as well as perhaps hundreds of folks who've come to see our symposia, our workshops, and our colloquia. So this is a really great thing that we're proud of having done. But you won't be surprised to learn that in many ways, I think that it's the fellows program that you're here to hear about today. That's one of the most important things that the 5CollBLDH has done and has continued to do over its the last 7 years. Since 2013, our fellows has supported more than 30 student-led projects on subjects as diverse as developing iOS apps for museum tours, organizing digital artist residencies, creating creating born digital essays, and inhabiting virtual worlds. As you'll hear from our current postdoc, Evan Young, in just a moment, past DH fellows have gone on to careers ranging from digital humanities librarians, software engineers, medical students, policy analysts, and technology specialists. Tonight, we show off the research of five most recent projects, all still in development in progress. All of these fellows have worked very, very hard on their projects, and not only that, not only have they worked hard on their projects, overcoming the usual challenges of putting digital tools in the context of humanities questions. They've had to do it when the libraries have shut, when their instructors have gone away, and they've all moved across the campuses and to their homes in different places. And overcoming that, the way that we all have, has become a particular challenge. So the work that you're going to see today doesn't just overcome two challenges, but three. Adapting to this kind of pandemic moment is something of challenge to be further rewarded, I think.